You know, if you had the chance to ask the wisest person in the world just one question, what would it be? Well, what if that person was so wise that even the gods came to them for advice? That's what we're diving into today. Some of the universe's oldest questions and the Buddha's answers to them.
So, we're heading way back to ancient India, a time and place where the line between our world and the divine world was, well, a lot fuzzier. And the conversations we're about to listen in on, they're not your typical Q&A. They are truly something else.
Just picture it. In the middle of the night, these celestial beings called Devatas would just appear, lighting up the entire forest. But they weren't there to show off. They were seekers, just like us, and they came carrying these huge, profound questions about life. And the very first question they ask gets right to the heart of what it means to be human. It's framed with this really powerful metaphor that I think we can all feel, this idea of life as a giant raging flood. The question sounds simple, right? Friend, how did you cross the flood? But think about what's really being asked here. It's how did you get through all the chaos, all the suffering, all the confusion, without getting totally swept away? How did you make it to the other side?
And the Buddha's answer is just this beautiful, kind of mind-bending paradox. He says, by not standing still and by not struggling. Wait, what? How can you do both of those things? It sounds like a total contradiction, but that's exactly where the genius is.
Okay, so first let's get on the same page about this flood, or oga as it's called in the original Pali. We're not talking about literal water. It's a metaphor for all the stuff that feels like it's pulling us under every day. You know, craving, confusion, seeing things the wrong way. That's the flood.
So here's the key. If you just stand still in that torrent, if you just cling to how things have always been, get stuck in your attachments, you're going to sink. But if you fight it, if you struggle against the current like crazy, you'll just burn yourself out and get swept away anyway. The way to cross is the middle path, to keep moving with awareness, but without all that frantic, desperate struggle.
And that whole idea of sinking if you stand still, it's all about attachment. The next question from the gods really brings this whole idea home in a super personal way. So another Devata comes to the Buddha and basically lays out the common sense view of what makes people happy. You know, it's the kind of thing we all think, the stuff you'd see on a cheesy poster. The Devata says, someone with kids is happy because of their kids. Someone with money is happy because of their money. Yeah, that makes sense. But the Buddha just flips it right on its head. He says, someone with kids worries and sorrows over their kids. Someone with money worries and sorrows over their money. Wow. I mean, the insight here is just so direct. He's not saying that family or success are bad things. Not at all. He's just pointing to this basic truth. Anything we cling to, anything we rely on for our happiness, will, without a doubt, also bring us sorrow. The joy and the pain are basically two sides of the very same coin. That coin is our attachment.
All right, so if the things we usually go after, family, career, money, are basically a double-edged sword, then what should we actually value? What are life's real treasures?
I mean, that's the next logical question, isn't it? If someone just told you that the things you value most are also the source of your biggest problems, you'd probably say, okay, smart guy, so what's the alternative?
And that's pretty much exactly what another Devata asks. They're basically asking for a whole new definition of wealth, a completely different way of measuring a good life.
And the Buddha's answer just brilliantly shifts our whole perspective from what's outside to what's inside. The real treasures, he says, are things you can't hold. He lists saddha, which is like faith or confidence in the path. Dhamma, the path itself, which brings real happiness when you actually live it. Truth, which he says is the sweetest taste there is. And finally, paññā, or wisdom, which he calls the highest way to live your life.
And you know what's so great about these treasures? They're totally secure. No one can steal them from you, they can't be destroyed in a fire, and they don't get old or rust away. This is an inner wealth that, once you've built it up, it's yours, forever.
Okay, so we've got the problem down, this flood of attachment, and we know the solution is about finding these inner treasures. So the last big question is the practical one. How do we actually do it? The gods basically asked for a step-by-step guide to peace.
I have to say, I love this next question just for how blunt it is. No fancy metaphors, no poetry, it's just, look, get to the point, what do I need to get rid of in my life so I can stop feeling so much sorrow?
Kimsu chetua na sochati. What's the one thing you can cut off so you never feel sorrow again? It's pretty much the ultimate life hack question, asked thousands of years ago.
And the Buddha gives this crystal clear three-part answer. First, he says you have to cut off anger. He calls it the poison root. Second, abandon that constant craving that keeps us tied up in knots. And third, develop the wisdom to see things clearly, just as they are. That, he says, is the path across the flood.
For centuries, these questions and answers have come down to us, like a timeless guide from another realm. But you know, the final and maybe the most important question isn't for the Buddha, it's for you.
Think about it. All these powerful divine beings were still tied up in knots, the same knots we are, craving, anger, confusion, and they came to the Buddha to learn how to untie them, one by one.
So the Devatas asked their questions, and now it's our turn. If you look at your own life, your own mind, what's the first knot that you need to work on? What's the tangle you're going to start with today?